Hi guys, so two fairly topically related trailers just came out for things that I'm very curious about, but I wouldn't go so far as to say excited to see. We're finally getting a really good trailer glimpse into what Star Trek Discovery is going to be all about. There have been lots of little behind the scenes hints and type of stuff going on from the time it was originally supposed to come out, and then the May launch date, and now the fall launch date, getting a little bit of information, but nothing concrete, and it's still not 100% concrete, but we finally have this idea of what is it going to look like, what is it going to, the general vibe and feel of the show going to be like, kind of just a general idea of what we're getting into, finally, getting some finalized product here. And also Seth MacFarlane's new comedy series, The Orville, which again is kind of a Star Trek-y related type thing here. So looking at both of those, first we'll start with Star Trek Discovery. Man, I'm in the exact same spot I've been this entire time. I'm not completely writing it off, but at the same time, I just cannot gear up any excitement. I really cannot. I should be elated that we're getting a new Star Trek series, and I'm not. It is something that is, again, it's not going to be in the so-called Abrams verse. It's something that's going to be related to the timeline of all the different TV series, something very separate, and it's going to be 10 years before Kirk. I've talked about in previous videos, I already have a problem with that. I don't like that. I feel like it should be continuing off from the end of Voyager and going in that timeline, or even another series in a pre-Dominion War, like Enterprise D era. Something along that line or going off into the future. I'm so tired of this going back in time to pre-Kirk. We already did that. It's been done to death. We don't need another one in that era because they don't really seem to do it right. Over the years, I have given Enterprise another shot, and I like it better than I did back in the day, but still, I don't want that anymore. I want to move on to the future or have something else within that timeline that I love so much. It just seems so unnecessary. But that aside, what's really important is the look and feel of the show and the characters, how they're going to be portrayed. That's really the heart of Star Trek. Even though I'm not a big fan of when it's taking place, I'm not going to write that off as being the end-all be-all. It's going to kill the show quality. No. But I have such mixed feelings with how they're presenting it. I said how it's not related to the movies as far as being part of that alternate universe timeline. The movies and series are now very separate, but they seem to be trying to channel the look and feel of those movies in many ways into a series form. And from a business perspective, I can kind of see it, because as much as I personally didn't really like those last three Star Trek movies, they did really, really well, and I've noticed a lot of new fans, young fans, getting into Star Trek because of those movies, because it's been so long since any other series was on the air, and I've noticed just comments on different trailers and videos talking about those new movies, and even videos I've done, people that have commented on my videos I've spoken to, people that were not Star Trek fans at all until these movies, saying like, these movies got me into Star Trek, or these movies, I enjoyed them, do you think I will like Star Trek? And a lot of asking questions about how do I get into Star Trek, because it is a very daunting thing. Talking with my younger brother, he started to look back at some old sci-fi series, and he started with a lot of shorter ones, because Star Trek is so daunting, and how do you really get into something that big? Do you start with the first episode of the original series and continue on through Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, just go that way? Like, how do you do it? Do you pick and choose? So it is a very daunting series to get into for the first time. So I see why they would stylistically try and make this. I think they're trying to go for something that's going to attract both audiences. I think they're trying to make this show a visual and storytelling fusion of old Star Trek with new Star Trek. And I'm afraid that that is going to be the thing that's kind of a recipe for failure. That just from this trailer, and again, I'm really kind of being a little more reserved with my judgment, really trying to wait until we actually see the premiere episode, maybe one or two after that, to really get a feel for how it's going to be. But just from the vibe that I'm getting from this trailer, it feels like it's trying to be a little bit of both and is not quite doing it. To me, visually, I don't like it at all. To be honest, if you look at a shot here of the next thing I'm going to talk about, Seth MacFarlane's series, The Bridge of the Orville, versus the bridge that we saw in the trailer for Discovery, I kind of like the Orville better as far as the bridge, the ship, no, but just the general vibe. I think the lens flare thing is annoying. I don't like the way it's shot, the visual style, too overly lit, too CGI feeling, too metallic and heavy feeling and dark. If it's going to be taking taking place just 10 years before Kirk, I would think there'd be a little more color, a little more vibrancy in the design of the ships. Just not going full on 1960s, but still just a little more color and creativity in this, and a little more character, a little more feeling. That's another thing I thought was missing was Star Trek, even in its darkest moments, even when you're looking at things like the last season of Deep Space Nine, looking at Dominion War, different stuff like that, one of the prevailing elements was there was always this undercurrent of hope and the spirit of humanity and positivity, even when the characters themselves were deep in a dark emotional place and having negative feelings. There was still this undercurrent in all the well-written aspects of Star Trek of the hope of humanity and the potential of humankind. And to me, in this trailer, that was completely missing. It felt so just downtrodden and dreary, just from the look and the general feel and the way the characters were interacting. Everything about it just felt so sullen, and not to me in a good way. It just felt kind of almost like if you've ever seen Stargate Universe, the feeling of that show compared to SG-1 and Atlantis, this is kind of how this feels compared to older Star Trek series to me. That change of vibe and trying almost too hard to be cool and edgy and dark, but not really doing it in a good way, not really pulling off like a Battlestar Galactica remake series kind of way. I don't like the vibe, I don't like the feel, and the focus of this trailer has me put off a little bit because the best things about Star Trek is the ensemble cast experience. Even when you have a head of the cast, usually the captain, it's not really just about that character. And this trailer focused way too much on the first officer who is going to be captain of the Discovery. I'm assuming Michelle Yeoh's character is going to probably die in the premiere episode or something. That does have me excited, though. It's another reason I'm going to watch it. I love Michelle Yeoh, so I kind of want to see it just for that. And even when you look at the promotional poster and everything, it feels like it's very centralized on one character. And I don't know if it's going to turn out being that way, but just so far what we've seen, it seems way too centralized on one character. I don't really like that. I'm kind of iffy about, does that mean the surrounding cast is going to be fairly weak in comparison, is not really going to have that ensemble cast feel? And thinking about the origins of this character, it seems very Vulcan heavy, and is she somehow going to be part Vulcan, or was raised on Vulcan, somehow related to Spock? Like, was that why Sarek is supposed to be a dominant character? Is they going to try and relate it that way? And I'm so worried that that's not going to click right story-wise. I'm really just kind of afraid of where this series could go because of what I've seen so far. I don't know, but again, there's enough potential in it that I'm like not completely writing it off. I still want to see it. I'm not like boycotting it or anything like that. But I can't gear up any excitement for all those reasons. There's just so many little elements of what makes Star Trek to me that I feel are missing in what we've seen so far, whether or not they'll be missing from the final product. But moving from that, something I'm actually a little more interested in that I was not expecting to be. This is kind of a sad state of affairs here. I'm actually a little bit more interested in the Orville, but again, I feel like it's more likely even than Discovery to be a failure, and I'll talk about why. I like it because the general vibe is kind of Galaxy Quest, the TV series, in many ways, and I thought it was a fantastic movie. That was like the perfect kind of like spoof of the original Star Trek series. It was a great movie. This, to me, I think what it's going to be humor-wise, from what I got from the trailer, and Seth MacFarlane in general, I'm not really a big fan. My wife's a much bigger fan of Family Guy and stuff like that than I am, but occasionally there are some really good things, and he is a very well-known hardcore Star Trek fan, so I know he has definitely a passion for the material that he is tackling, and he is someone who occasionally can have some really, really good humorous writing. Not all the time, again, for me, it's very hit or miss, but I think this is going to be something that it's going to be pretty funny and go pretty well in the beginning, but I don't see it having lasting appeal. It just comes across as this idea to me that's kind of a one joke that's going to be dragged out too long. It's going to be really kind of interesting and funny. That's why Galaxy Quest works so well, because it's just a singular movie, and it works really well in that form. I think this is kind of taking that idea that works really well as a one storyline thing to tackle and probably stretching it out too far. I think it's going to be one of those things that first couple episodes are going to be pretty funny, and we'll get the occasional one here or there with better writing. It's really good, but in the long run, it's going to I just had this feeling it's going to turn out to be fairly mediocre in the long run and probably won't last that long. It just had this feeling from his work, combined with the trailer that we saw, that it's going to be something along those lines where it's going to be, it's pretty funny, okay, whatever. I stopped watching after a few episodes. And the other issue too is that it's Fox, and when it comes to sci-fi, whether it's comedy or not, the track record with Fox is just, I don't know about this. So in general, that's a series that I think I'm probably going to enjoy in the beginning and just kind of fall off pretty quickly. Probably, I honestly don't think it's going to last more than a season or two. I don't think it's going to be that successful just from what I'm getting, and even the reaction a lot of people have had to it. But yeah, that and just I'm pretty well decided on what I think it's going to be. Discovery is still so up in the air. I do have to mention, I mean, I didn't talk about it in depth because everyone's talking about this, but I hate the new designs for the Klingons. They look terrible. I hate it. But again, I'm not going to harp on it too much because everyone's talking about that element. But the main things are just the spirit and the feel of Star Trek. It wasn't in that trailer, and I'm just really hoping it's not going to be missing. I'm just hoping there's not going to be this almost humanitarian, void. Like there's going to be this, I feel like there's going to be this soullessness to Discovery that I'm hoping it doesn't have, but I just feel like it's going to have that feeling, and it's just not going to click with me. But we'll see. Maybe it will surprise me. Again, I'm just so up in the air with it because I guess think part of me just doesn't want to give up hope, but the way they're going, what I'm seeing so far, I just don't think it's going to be that great. Not to mention, I'm kind of pissed off that I'm going to have to pay money to see it after the premiere episode. I mean, I'm pretty sure my father-in-law is going to get it, and we'll go over there and view their streaming service, but paying so much a month for a streaming service for a show that I kind of feel like probably isn't going to be that great, forget about it. But anyway, those two, related in this sort of Star Trek vein here. One that I'm just could be complete disaster, but I'm hoping it's not going to be, and the other that I think is going to be kind of mediocre fun for a little while. What do you guys think of those two? Are you still, have you given up hope on Discovery, or do you still kind of hold that candle of hope? Did you actually really like what you see? And let me know with these two, what did you see that you really like? Is there some element of Discovery that you think that is going to really work that you think I'm missing? Please let me know, because I'd love to have some real positive vibes come in and make me get more excited for this series than I am. So please guys, give me some positivity here. Let's see.